All right. Hello, everyone. Is everybody? I see some people coming in here. Welcome, welcome. If you've done a demo day with us before, you might notice this is a new face. My name is William. I'm a senior account executive here at Financial Sense. So I'll be doing the demo for you guys today. Very, very excited about it. I want to go over some key features that we have, go over some workflow, use case scenarios, things like that, whatever we have time for. So as you're coming in, if you could drop in the chat, where are you guys from? I want to see who's coming in here, who's what city, what state you guys are from. Utah. Okay. Hello, Alan. How you doing? Who else we got here? We got some Edmonton in here. Nice. And we're gonna give it a couple more minutes here, just get some more attendees in to make sure that we're not leaving anyone behind. See. All right, got some people coming in. One more minute and we'll get started here. And so, some a couple key tips here, guys. If you have questions, try to refrain from putting those in the chat. Put them in the Q&A. And in about 45 minutes or so, we are going to have a poll. So I'll pause for the poll so you guys can so we can get some feedback from you as well. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get into financial sense here. Uh, Again, as I'm going through this, please feel free to drop questions in the Q&A. So let's take a look here. All right. So I think we should be sharing here in a moment. All right. So to get started here, with Financial Sense, what I kind of want to go through here is so there's a few features that we have in here that we can definitely focus in. But one of the big differences, in my opinion, that Sense has, when you look at it compared to any other solution, is going to be the ease of use, the ease of finding things, changing things on the fly, but also the ease of getting started with Financial Sense. One of the major hurdles people typically have when the firm's trying to adopt a whole new product is like the learning curve and the getting started. You might use a product today, you might get it today, and then you might not actually fully start using it until 6 months to a year from now. So let's talk a little bit about if I had Financial Sense today, what it would look like to get clients into the system. What information can I find out about these clients? And then once I have the clients in the system, how do we create projects and track that workflow? And then I'll go over some real quick key features at that point once we cover that. So in Financial Sense, if I had a client right now, how do I get them in here? Well, there's a few ways to do that. When I go to create a client, I can actually integrate it with QuickBooks Online to bulk import from QBO. I can also have it to where when I add a client in QBO, automatically adds a client for me in Financial Sense. But what I can also do is I can just add a spreadsheet. And this is what I would recommend if you guys are in a scenario where, let's say that you already have a developed tech stack. I'm using QuickBooks. I'm using Dex. I'm using I have my own spreadsheet with client information. I'm using Lacerda or UltraTax or something like that. So that means you have client information in various sources. So, and you might have some client information in your tax software that you don't have in your accounting software and vice versa. So by downloading our spreadsheet here, you can actually come in and put all that information into our spreadsheet. You can actually add as many columns as you want so that all the information comes in simultaneously. So when I come in here, I can have all the information all in one place, upload it to Financial Sense. All the clients are going to be created, all their profiles are going to be there with all their information. And what you might notice is that we also have a section called Client Group. So in FC, you can actually customize your clients by group. So I might have a client group for um, I have one customer that has like 5 entities. So I can put them all under one group, Bob's businesses. So when I'm looking for projects or workflows and things like that, I can find all of his company's projects under one view, for example. Or it might be Bob's clients versus Sarah's clients, because each team member is working on their own individual client base. things like that. So you can create as many groups as you want, and you can assign one customer to as many groups as needed as well. Now, the other thing we can do here is add a client manually. So why would I ever do a manual process for adding a client? Well, it might not be a client yet, might be a prospect. I don't want to put them in QuickBooks yet until I get an engagement letter signed. Or I don't want to put them into my tax software until we know they're an actual live customer. But I still want to track the progress with that prospect before we actually get them signing the dotted line. So what we'll do here is we'll put the client information in, and then we're going to assign them to a group called lead or prospect, so we can differentiate from our actual live clients from our prospective clients. And again, really easy to add a client to as many different groups as needed. Once the client's been created, the next step is going to be to look at their dashboard page where we find all of their information. So let me see here. I think I need to come in, look at a different account. All right. So when I go to a client profile here, there's going to be a lot of information we can gather. So I can see the name of the client, all the different groups they're associated to, and it's really easy to add and remove them from groups as needed. I'll see all the projects they're a part of, all the different tasks they have assigned to them. I can see the due dates for those different projects, and then I can see client notes. So in here, it's really easy to add client notes as needed, and you can pin certain notes at the top so that when you go to their dashboard page, you can see those notes. I'll see all the client contacts in here. This is all the information in respect to that client in Financial Sense. And so this is really important because in some portals, like you're only allowed to send a request for a document to the main contact for that business or that client. In Financial Sense, I can add as many contacts as I want, and I could use chat to communicate with certain contacts. I can give files and make certain files available to certain contacts. I can come in here and say, I want this person to have access to this folder, but not be able to upload. I want Karen to be able to view and upload. I could choose if they get notified when documents get uploaded to a folder and things like that. So you can do a lot of things on a contact by contact basis within that client. And I can put individual notes for each contact so I understand exactly what that customer is about. So the other thing we can do in here is look at our about section. So all those fields you might have added onto that spreadsheet to bulk import the client information is what you would see here. And what we can do is we can manage these fields by adding additional fields here if I need to. I can also move fields around to put them in the order I want to put them in. And I can come in and just add on or change or modify information on a client by client basis. Now, when I'm looking at it on this screen here, what you'll notice is some of these fields are not filled in. And the reason for that, so what happens if they're not filled in is you're not going to see the information here. So all we're showing you on the about section is the information that's relative to that particular client. And then resources is going to cover any information that you might want to quickly access about that client. So I can come in here and say, I want to have a quick resource to that client's Xero account. Maybe they're using Xero or something. Or I want to have a quick resource to the client's Dropbox that they're sharing with me, or their share file or something like that. So you add the resource name, put the link to that resource here, and then you can have quick shortcuts to all those different resources as needed. So let me pop in here and see if I can't see if there's any questions in here. Let's pop in real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I'm using one screen right now, so it's kind of making it a little difficult to see. Let's see. All right, no questions yet. That's awesome. Let's see here. All right, so now we're going to come in and go over to our screen share again. All right, so to go back to this, so the next thing I want to cover here is kind of how we create projects in Financial Sense. So the way it's going to work is when I go into my projects page here, we're going to start you off with a handful of templates in Financial Sense. So I might have like 1040, 1065, bookkeeping. We're going to start you off with some standardized templates. Now, when you go into a template, you might say to yourself, well, this is great. I have a client section. These are the things I want the client to do. I'll have a team section. This is where I want the team to do certain work. And then I can choose in which order these different sections are happening. And I can add as many client and team sections as needed. Now, when you look at the template, it might not default to exactly how you would do things. So you can actually come in and add additional tasks really easily to supplement an existing workflow and then place the task in whatever order you want. I can also come in here and delete tasks that I don't need, and I can come in here and rename tasks as needed as well. So in financial sense, instead of assigning a team member to a specific task, the way we do it in FC is we're going to create a role based on the kind of roles and descriptions you have within the firm. And then once I create that role, I'll assign the role to the task so that once I create the project, I can assign that individual team member to the role. That way, they'll auto get assigned to every task when the project gets created. So this is going to help automate and just make these things happen a lot quicker within financial sense. Now, what you can also do is, let's say you have an existing spreadsheet today with all of your different tasks that maybe you're tracking things on a spreadsheet, or maybe you're using an existing solution that you can export a spreadsheet from. If I go to create a brand new template from scratch, we'll say like, payroll or something like that. I can come in here and I can just take that spreadsheet, copy a column, for example, and then paste that in here. Again, making it very simple to come in and just get started with an existing process you guys already have in your existing firm. And of course, come in here, add to it, move things around, rename things like that. All that can be done at a template level. And then one of my favorite resources for our templates is going to be our template library. This is a place that you can go to see all the information all the different templates that other firms that are using Financial Sense have decided to share with you. And I can sort by the client industry, entertainment, financial services, government, healthcare. I can sort it by location and by work type. Or I can simply type in 1040 maybe and see all the clients that are using a 1040 workflow, and then click on that workflow to see exactly how they're doing it. Some people are going to be more comprehensive with their workflow than others. Some might say, well, I can kind of make it a little bit easier. This is how we do it. Ask the client for this, and then we do that. And then if I like the template, I can take it and I can add it to my workflow here very simply. All right, guys. So 1 second. So the next thing we're going to go over to is, when I create a project, how does that typically work? So let's say that we're doing a monthly bookkeeping project, and I'll create the project here. I can do it for one client or several. If I go to many clients here, I can choose individual clients, or I can do it by client group. Again, if I'm getting started with Financial Sense, why is it happening so fast for so many firms? That's because we can do a lot of things automated and in groups and in bulk. So here I can say I want to do a bookkeeping project for all of my bookkeeping clients, and I've already separated my bookkeeping clients by bookkeeping type. I might have a bookkeeping version 1, version 2, version 3, or Sarah's bookkeeping and Bob's bookkeeping and things like that. So if I want to create the project for a set of bookkeeping clients, I can select that group here and create that project in bulk for all those clients at the same time. So we'll go ahead and do it for one client for now. As an example, I'm going to do a monthly bookkeeping project for, let's say, my client John's Groceries that we looked at earlier. And I can have a default start and due date already applied to the template, or I can come over here and manually customize the started due date here. I can also have a default recurrence. We have a lot of recurring options: daily, weekly, monthly, every quarter, every 6 months, every year. Or I can get more customized. I can say, I want this to happen every month on the 3rd, or let's say every month on the 2nd Monday of the month. So I can get very specific with the recurrences here. And once you've got that set up, then you can choose your accounting period. I might be doing bookkeeping in May, but it might be for February bookkeeping that I'm doing for the client that they're behind on, or maybe some QuickBooks cleanup from prior months or something like that. So I can choose the accounting period for which I'm actually doing the work. So I understand when it's due, when I'm doing it, but also what month I'm doing it for. And then at that point, I'll decide, all right, who's going to be assigned to what task. We can see here that Williams, the admin, will make Carolina the junior bookkeeper, George the bookkeeper, and Casey's going to be the reviewer here. Once I create the project, then everyone will be automatically assigned to the individual tasks. Once William finishes this task, it'll notify Carolina. Carolina finishes this, it's going to go over to George and notify him. Now, the next thing we're going to cover here is kind of how the workflow works. And if I mark a task complete here, This is how it's going to notify the next person they need to get started. But what you might notice is that as I'm marking task complete, you're going to see that a tag shows up letting me know what's the status of that particular project. So this is in preparation. Click mark this complete. Now it's in review. And so the tag allows me to understand what status I am with the project. But status isn't the only reason I can use tags. I can add a tag manually. Let's say that this has become a high priority. I want to be able to find this in the future by filtering by high priority projects. Now I can add that high priority tag manually. And we'll start you off with a handful of tags, of course. You can customize these, add additional ones, and you can even make some of the tags visible to the client if you have any client requests and you want them to understand kind of where they are in the process as well. Now, speaking on the client side, the way the client portal is going to work is I can come in and I can add as many tasks for the client as I need. So I can ask for like upload bank statements, upload credit card statements. I can ask them to review an existing document. So there's a few different ways we can do that. I'll say review, P&L or something like that. How about P&L? And we'll hit save, and then we're going to come in here and add the document. So I'm gonna add an attachment here. I want them to look at this document and then I want them to review it. And I'm gonna disable the upload option because I don't want them uploading. I want them to just come in and do that. So I can have them perform that specific action here. So now with Financial Sense, we have two different plans you can really look at, our team plan and our scale plan. Everything I showed you so far is all in our team plan. However, on our scale plan, there's a few additional features. So on our team plan, I can actually have this I can send this manually every time I need to send it to the client, no problem, and choose which contact I'm going to be sending it to. Maybe it's Bob Ross, maybe it's Bob and Karen, maybe it's just Karen. But on the scale plan, I can automate it. I can say every month on this day, I want this request to go out automatically. So I'm not having to do it. Every month, I already know what I need from my client. If things differ from month to month, when the project recurs, it's really easy to just add an additional request to that workflow. It'll still follow the same cadence as needed if you have it scheduled. But sometimes we're going to request something from the client, but we don't know. We know we need to, but we don't know when exactly because it needs to happen after a certain action takes place. So in Financial Sense, what I can do is I can say every month, once we finish this particular set of tasks, then automatically send a request out to these individual contacts at the company. So we're going to go ahead and send a request out to Bob Ross now. And then we'll take a look at what the client side looks like. So the client will get an email from you. They can also get a text message as well. Let's see here. I might have chosen the wrong person. Yeah, there we go. So we'll send it out to them quickly here. And then we'll go over to the client side. Take a look at this request. So the request comes in, and the way it's going to look is like this. It'll have your firm name, your company name here, or your logo. You can customize what this is going to say here on the actual email. And what differs with Financial Sense from other solutions is that we give them a quick snapshot of what we're asking for. We don't just say, hey, click here to upload what we need. We can say, hey, when you click on this, this is what you're going to be uploading. And this is also going to remind the client that, oh, yeah, that's right. I spoke to Bob about this, and he told me he was going to send me this request. And so this is going to help get the adoption rate of your clients using the portal much higher, which we've already seen with Financial Sense. Once I click here, the other thing that's going to increase your adoption rate of the actual portal is the ease of use of logging in. When I come in here, it's not asking me to create a form or start to create an account, fill a form out, anything like that. I hit continue and no password needed. It's just going to send me a two-factor verification code that will come to either email or text. I'll copy it here and then paste it in. So again, really easy for the client to log into the portal and see what they need. Now, when I come in here, I can see that I need to upload statements, review this document that you might have sent me, things like that. I can download it, print it, whatever I need to do. But what I can also do is when I'm attaching documents, you might have a client that has 3 or 4 different documents they have to upload. So they might upload 1 today, 2 tomorrow, things like that. And you don't really want to get notified every time a document comes in sometimes. You might want to get notified once all the documents are uploaded. So in Financial Sense, we're going to ask the customer, are you done putting documents in here or do you have more documents to upload? That way, when they hit mark complete, that's when it shows it's completed. And then that's when on your side, you can see what the clients actually sent you. So you notice here that it got, if I refresh this page, for example, you'll notice that new document got uploaded, and then you'll see what they uploaded to you. You can review that document. If it's not what you were looking for, you ask for one document to send you something different. I can mark it incomplete, comment to that customer and say, hey, still looking for an updated document. They'll get the notification and they'll see it here that you added a comment. So a lot of different ways that we can communicate that with the client. If I go in here, I can also see my chat. So you can create different topics and you can choose which team member is part of the conversation, but also which client contact is part of the conversation. And you can have as many different chats as needed. This is going to be very helpful, especially if you have a client that has multiple entities and we need to communicate about a specific company or a specific project that we're referring to and just have that individual conversation. All right, guys. So if you have any questions, I'm going to stop sharing it really quick. I'm going to look at the Q&A just to verify here if we've got any additional questions in the Q&A that I might have missed. All right. Actually, this is, so let's see. In the Q&A, what we got here, is there a way to import all of your clients' documents from Dropbox into Financial Sense without doing it manually? So in Financial Sense, you can actually, there's no way like bulk import for all of your clients, but if you have a folder structure in Dropbox that has like the client folder, name, subfolders, and documents and more subfolders, you can actually take that entire folder structure, drag it into the Financial Sense. It'll create all those folders for you in Financial Sense all at once. So it would be a client by client basis, but it's not a folder by folder basis or a document by document basis. That's kind of how you would do that. And it is unlimited storage and everything is secure in Financial Sense, of course. Now, someone asked me, you mentioned tasks for clients. How do they get that and how does it look on their end? I think I covered that ahead of time. Sorry about that. So hopefully that did get answered there for you. And then do the tax due dates automatically update each year in your system, or do we have to manually change when the deadline falls on a weekend or a holiday? If the deadline is on a specific date, then the deadline will stay on that date every year. So if it's like the 15th of April or if it's something like that. But if it falls on a weekend, then you would have to adjust, like to say, well, I don't want to work on a Sunday to get this tax done, so I need to get it done by Friday. You will have to adjust it for that particular day in the system. Can you edit or change the request after you sent it? Absolutely. That's really easy to do. If I need to change a request, I go in there, rename it, change what I'm asking for, delete it, create a new request if I need to. There's several different ways you can do that. And do we plan on adding text messaging to FC? Text messaging is not on our current roadmap. We don't know, honestly, if we want to add that. One of the issues with the text messaging is that is security. So instead, what they'll get is a text notification with Financial Sense. So if I have a specific request for like upload this document or that document or something like that, they'll get a text message saying customers asking for this particular document or the firm is asking for this particular thing. Please click here to answer the chat or to upload the document or whatever it is. They can click on it on their phone. It's already built to be mobile friendly. So it'll look like this on their phone and they can kind of come in and just kind of look at, tap on their screen to look at the request and things like that. Very easy. No need to download an app or anything like that. We're trying to remove obstacles from the client being able to come in and use the portal. So they get a text notification asking them to reply to the chat. They can click there to log in, get straight to the chat and answer that question securely. Cool. So I do want to cover a little bit about like the workflow aspect of Financial Sense. So as you notice, we have different tags, and keep in mind that you can customize the automation of these tags. So like when these different tasks get done, what tags are going to show up for the project? And so what this is going to help with is like quickly identifying where we are as a firm. So if my job is to come in and look at the firm holistically to find out what's going to like what's happening within the firm today, this is where I'll look. Now, at first, this could be a lot to consume. If you got a bunch of clients, different projects, a bunch of different team members, you'll see a lot of information here. So what we want to do is consolidate this view into a more digestible one. So in this example, I might click on like waiting on client. I want to see all of my projects where we're waiting on the client for something. Cool. I see that now. Very easy to see. Now I want to see everything where we're waiting on the client, but the project is due this month because I want to make sure I'm staying on top of this and I'm making sure these clients are actually being receptive to what I'm asking for. But now I want to see it for a specific team member. So I'll go to assignee and look for all of Williams projects where we're waiting on the client. So now I'm seeing all of Williams projects we're waiting on the client. And I'll see that information here. Let me go to someone actually that does work around here. Maybe let's look at George here. Maybe he has more going on his. A better example. And the reason why I say that is because what I want you to notice is that when I'm looking at this view, there's a lot of information I'm gathering. I can see here that this is, for example, monthly bookkeeping for John's Groceries for February. This is recurring every month automatically. I can see that this is a high priority project. It's in review, waiting on a client for some stuff, and there's 3 out of 10 tasks completed here. This is assigned to George. It's due May 31st, started May 1st. We budgeted 6 hours for the project, but we haven't tracked any time against it so far. We asked the client for 6 items, and they've done 1 of those items so far. So a lot of information I'm gathering without having to click into the project itself. Now, when I go in here and I go to the actual chat, I can see if my team has already communicated about this project. So I might see a lot of back and forth here, and this might help answer a lot of questions without having to actually reach out to my team members to ask those questions. If I do have questions, it's easy to come in, hit the app button, choose a team member, and say, what's going on with this or whatever you want to say. And once you do that, now that person will get notification. They'll click on the notification either within the app or via email. Each team member can choose how they get notified. It'll take them directly to this conversation. And what's really good about this, if you guys are using a Slack or Microsoft Teams or something like that to communicate internally, you usually have to find the person or tag them, explain what client we're talking about, what project we're talking about, what accounting period. Now we don't have to. All this is right here. This is John's Groceries, monthly bookkeeping. And if I'm wondering about the project, I can click here from here to find the project that you're referring to and see any information that I need to about that project. And this is built like a spreadsheet where I have my rows and my different columns, and then you'll see my sheets within that sheet. So if I go to the team chat, I'll see the communication here as well when I'm working within the actual project. Now, some key things to keep in mind when doing the filtering here. As you're filtering things and you're kind of looking at assignees and whatnot, what'll happen is I can come and save that view as a report and name it whatever I want to avoid having to refilter it again down the road. So when I come in here and I type in and I have my different reports already built out, I'll see them here and I can choose which view I'm looking for based on the report that I had previously saved. So in financial sense, each team member gets their own report. So I think the next thing I have to cover here quickly is going to be the time tracking inside of Financial Sense. Really cool feature we have with time tracking. Most I would say like firm members, bookkeepers, preparers, etc., don't like tracking time because it's not usually like a perfect system. We don't track time for one customer all day typically, right? We're moving around a lot. So it's a lot of stop, start that, it kind of becomes a hassle when doing the time tracking. So Financial Sense did fix that problem when it comes to workflow. Because if I'm working on a project, let's say we're doing uncategorized expenses, I can come over here and just start a timer for that. When I do so, I can have a default billable or non-billable time associated, or I can do it by hourly rate, by team member. There's a few different scenarios that we can go over on how to do that. And I can put as many notes as I want within here. Some people hate it that it's only like one row or like 15 characters they can use. Or with Financial Sense, you can have as much as you want in here. When I start my timer, the thing is that I'm doing John's Groceries bookkeeping, but now I get a phone call from Sheila Curtis, and now I need to look at one of her tax returns. So as I'm doing that, I'll start my new timer here. But when Financial Sense does this, we'll ask you, do you want to stop that previous timer or do you want to just pause it? That way, if I pause it, now my new timer is running. I didn't have to go back and find the other timer. And I can continue doing this all day for various different tasks without having to worry about going to find the other timer I'm referring to. And if I want, I can click on the timer. I can always see it running no matter what page I'm on at the very top right. But when I click on this, I can see how many pause timers I have and see them all on one page here. So if I duplicate this tab here, I can have as many tabs as I want open. If you're like me, I might have 515 running at one time. I can come in here, work on various other things, and then go back to this page to look at my timers. It makes it very easy to pause and play from right here. And then if I want, I can stop the timers from here as well. Once you stop it, that's when it records the time. If I'm in a project tracking time against it, we'll say like one of these here. Any time tracked against this particular project is also going to be within the project itself. You'll see who tracked the time, who logged it, in and out periods, rate, notes, and they can also just add time manually if they want to by in and out or specific duration. Very easy to do. And you can also have time that rounds up to your nearest like 5 minutes, 30 minutes, etc. as well. There's a few options for that also. When looking at timers holistically, very easy to come in and look at my reports, and I can see all of my time tracked here. So it defaults to the day that you're in, but you can come in and go to like last month, for example, see all the time track last month. And I can search that by client name here. I can look at it by project, by team member, and I can see details for each report as well if I need to. So we'll take a quick pause here to look at some more questions. Let's see what we got here. Go back to the Q&A. How does chat differ from email? That's a really good question, actually. Leonard, I think it was. So when it comes to chat is if we're looking to, I think that most firms really try to avoid email as much as possible whenever they're communicating with clients. Because when you communicate with me as a client, then that means that you're talking about typically some work that I'm doing for you. So what I want to do is I want to tie that communication to that work. So if I create a topic via chat, any communications about that work are now within that chat, and it's not being lost in my email. Now, Financial Sense does also integrate email because that's easier said than done, right? If your client's been trained for the past several years to email you for things, then that's going to be their go-to. So it might take a while to get them over to using the chat part only. So in Financial Sense, we want to use the chat so we can leverage control of the communication. That would be the goal. But you can also use the chat if you want to, just for internal purposes. But if you wanted to use the chat, that's how you would use it. Now, as a firm, you might not want to use the chat. I don't want the client to chat with me all day long, right? So you can actually just turn the chat off completely if you don't want to use it with the client too. So just keep that in mind. So how does the client send us documents if we're not sending a request? Is there a portal login? Absolutely. So I think that was the last question I saw in here. So let me go back to my screen and show you some examples of that. So we'll go back to the screen here. We'll share it and we'll take a look. So client portal. So when you go to a client's profile, you can find the portal link here. It's the same for every client, because if I came in here and we'll open up like a little incognito tab here and we'll just type that in. This is what the client's going to see. They're going to put their email in. I'll say my email is bmadridsb@bross@gmail, and then we'll hit continue. It's going to send me a magic link. It's not even going to be a verification code if I do it this way. So if I come in, check my email, all it's going to be is a magic link to that. I wonder if that was even typed in right. There it was. Okay. And so it says access your portal. So no like two-factor or anything like that. This is the two-factor. I click here, straight to the portal, straight to the login. And I can see everything. I can see my request. I can see my documents. I might have sent you, I might have multiple companies, so I can see all of my different folders for each company under one login. Click on that company and see the folders and subfolders, and so sufficiently go back and access those documents as I need. This is where I also see the chat for all the different conversations that we're having here. Again, what a client sees is depending on which contact you give them permission to that specific topic. So though I don't have to see every topic as a client. And then also we can access our billing from here as well. from a customer of yours and using Financial Sense for the billing, then they can come over here and pay invoices, see any paid invoices that are already that they want to download if they need to. They can update their own payment methods within the portal, and you can also send them proposals. So what I'd like to do next is show you a quick example of how that system works with the proposals and the billing in Financial Sense, if you'd like to use that. And as a quick note, that does automatically integrate with QuickBooks Online on the billing side. So if I go to billing, proposals, really easy to create a proposal in here. You can have a default template if you need to on a proposal. And then you can choose the client, choose like who's going to actually be signing it, give it a proposal name and things like that. Throw in a little intro video if you need to, hit continue, and then come in and then choose different services. So you can create different packages in here, and you can choose different service item types. Am I doing this as a one-time billing, a recurring billing, an hourly billing, or a deposit? And you can do this for each individual service item that you add, each line item that you're adding to the proposal here. So if I come in and let's say we're doing like this HR work, for example, I can come over here and use AI to add a description for that particular work that we're doing based off of whatever service name you use. This is going to help make it a lot more professional and a lot easier to get that professional look versus having to come in and do that manually. Once you have your different service items and types and things like that already in here, the next option will be to choose the payment method. Am I going to allow credit card, ACH, both, and is the payment going to be required before the client can actually sign a proposal? You can have all that in here, and then you can choose when the client, do you want to upload the engagement letter or the agreement, or do you want to just copy and paste it in here for the client to see? Once you preview and send it, the client will get an email with the link to the proposal. When they click on that, it'll look something like this. Let's see if I have one. Yep. And you'll have like a nice intro video if you want. You'll have a nice description if you want. They hit continue, and then you'll see here different packages that they have to choose from. They can come in, choose that package, see all the different services that you're offering. They can add on services if you want. You can make certain services optional as an add-on if you need to. Like let's say, we're doing QuickBooks, bookkeeping, but also if you want, you can add on QuickBooks Cleanup for the prior months as well for an additional $1,500 or so, whatever you want to charge for that. Then the client can come in and make the payment. Unless you don't make it necessary, they can come over here, read the actual agreement itself, or download it if you have it attached, accept it, and then sign. Once they do that, it takes them directly to the portal where they can explore it at that point or watch a video on how to use it. And again, access their billing and all that from one location. As far as the invoicing goes, the invoicing can be recurring and things like that. You can see all the invoices from here. So if I want to look at it by frequency, I want to see all the invoices that were recurring one time or every month or every quarter or whatever recurrence you have set. You can do it that way or by status, drafted, voided, outstanding, paid, overdue, etc. So when I come in, and let's say I actually want to send an invoice out, I can create an invoice manually as well. I can choose from a template if I need to. I could choose which contact specifically is going to get the invoice or which contacts. I can have it one time or recurring. If it's recurring, I can do monthly, weekly, annual. I can choose the actual day, let's say every second of the month or every first Tuesday of every 2 months or 3 months, etc. And then I could have it auto charge the client right away. If they have a payment method on file already, I'll see that here. If they don't, I can select pay. I can add payment while I'm on the phone with them or if they're in the office. And I can also just send an invoice from here as well. Say I can choose what method of payment I'm going to accept, ACH or credit card, and I can have auto reminders that go out to the client every so often until they've actually paid the invoice. And you can customize what those reminders look like as well, of course. If I have any, I can add service items manually in here if I need to, or I can come over here and add any unbilled time the client might have as well from here as needed. There's other ways to add unbilled time. There's an unbilled report. So I can like bulk create an invoice from all the unbilled time for that client as well. So different use cases on that. If you want more details about the billing and like, because I understand that like not every firm works the same way. Like, the goal with Financial Sense isn't to take your existing workflow and just throw it out the window and give you a whole brand new one. No, we want to take what you're doing right now and then streamline that using our system. This should be helping you get things streamlined, not just changing your overall way of doing things. So booking a demo with us is going to be one of the best ways to actually come in and get a catered understanding of like, hey, this is how we do our thing right now. If I was using Financial Sense, how can I make that work in here? And then we will kind of show you that process. So just to kind of go back into the billing really quickly here, I do want to show you some reports here. So you will be able to come in and look at some reporting in Financial Sense. And so some of the reports we have are a realization. So I can see like um, hourly billables versus fixed billables, total billables, actual bill amount. You write down. I track 1,200 bucks worth of hours for this customer, but I'm only charging them 1,000. So I had to write down 1,000 or 200 bucks whenever I billed the client. And so you'll see all those differences here. And you'll see the labor cost, gross profit, and you look at your profit margins. And of course, you can look at this by client, by team member, by project specifically, or by individual service item. How are we doing on our 1040s versus our payroll or on billable time specifically that we have, things like that. And we also have utilization, so I can see which team members are actually tracking billable versus non-billable hours and the percentages on that if I need to. I can filter by client group specifically also and by client. And then we also have our AR aging. So I can look at, our 30, 60, 90, or even older aging for payments that are coming in. Revenue Insights is one of my favorite reports that we have in here where I can see a lot of information on total revenue by client group, by service item, and our proposal acceptance. How are we doing the proposals? Do we need to increase or change our methods of actually getting these proposals out to customers so that and track them a little bit better using some Financial Sense workflows to make sure that these guys are actually remembering to sign proposals and get started with our business. So from here, I'm going to go back into the chat because we're going to have a poll here in a few minutes. So I do want to make sure that I am answering some of you guys' questions. So let's take a look here. How long will documents persist in the system, and can we set a sunset date? So we don't have a way of auto archiving documents that you don't want in the system after a certain amount of time. That's something that we do plan on eventually being able to do with NFC, just not currently. So if there's a document that you don't want to have there anymore, then you have to go in there and either delete it, remove it. If you don't want to give a client a certain access to a document anymore, it is easy to go in and just remove that access on a need-to-need basis. If someone else accidentally receives the client link, can they get into the client's portal and see the client's information? No. If you send them the client link, they're going to be required to put their email in, right? If they put, maybe I know the other person's email somehow, and I put their email in. If I don't have access to the email, I don't have access to the verification code or to the magic link to log in. So this is how we maintain the security here. I don't use QuickBooks for payments. How do we integrate our payment link to FC? Well, actually, the way it would work is we would replace the billing system you have now. You would bill completely through FC. Just so you understand the billing rates here, it's 2.9% plus 30 cents for credit card transactions. And then for ACH, it's 1% capped at $5. So very competitive rates on the actual billing through our system. And you can actually pass along the credit card fees over to the client as well. I know a lot of firms want to kind of push their clients to using ACH, but some of them don't have the option. They have to use credit card. Well, now with Financial Sense, you can push that fee over to the clients. So this is what makes the reporting possible in Financial Sense, being able to see our revenue insights and look at our realization reporting and things like that. Can the client pay for extension payments, balance dues, or estimated payments for their yearly tax return using Financial Sense if they set up bank details? Yes, as long as you create those invoices for them, they'll see the invoices in their portal and they can pay that way. If you're looking for a more automated way of doing that, I think I would refer you over to a demo again to look at your specific use case and see exactly how you might do that based on how your firm is kind of doing your invoicing now. And just confirming, we can set up ACH payments with our clients. Yes, you can do auto draft from ACH if you need to within Financial Sense. That's not going to be a problem at all. We can definitely do that. All right, so I think we have a poll coming up here pretty soon. Let's see. Yep, there it is. And I'll give you guys a moment to fill that out. Oh, we got somebody from Alaska in here. That's awesome. Never been, always wanted to visit Alaska. Only thing I know about Alaska is bears and fishing, I think. I need to expand my Alaska knowledge. All right, guys, give you a few more moments on that poll. Again, happy to address any questions. If you guys have additional questions in the Q&A. If a client pays by cash or check in person, how do we integrate those payments? Well, you simply go into the actual invoice and mark it paid. Very simple to do that, no problem at all. And the good thing about that is you're marking it paid manually on that particular invoice. All your invoicing, all that is still going to show up in your reporting. Give you a good idea of kind of where we are as a firm, what needs to change, what needs to be mitigated, things like that. Can I show more about the document management system? Are you able to have a network drive you can access from Win Explorer? Yeah, let me do that. Let me kind of show you how that's going to work here in financial sense. That's a great question. So, that does kind of bring me to another piece, like I guess some little insight about financial sense here. Well, for one, the answer to your question is currently no. If I have a file section for the client here and I have all the photos here, it doesn't auto sync to your drive. However, in the next 30, 60 days, this quarter, we're set to release a brand new integration with G Drive and OneDrive where it will auto sync to those. So if I was in OneDrive and I was revising a document or making modification to it, it would auto modify it in Financial Sense and vice versa. So it'll be a two-way sync between OneDrive and G Drive. If you have your own personal drive, that the integration will not currently sync to like your C folder or something like that you might have, or your current server situation you have. It'd have to be a G Drive or OneDrive integration currently. But what this is also going to be able to do is when I have a task for a client, let's say a 1040 return or something like that, will come in and I'm asking the client to like upload, W2. When I do that, what's going to happen is when I go to manage client uploads, currently what I can do is I can say upload documents to like share file and place the link to share file here. But with the G Drive and OneDrive integration, what will happen is I can say upload to this particular root folder under this client's folder inside of OneDrive. And so all tax documents will go to this folder, all bookkeeping documents will go to that folder, et cetera, automatically. So that's how the integration is set to work in the coming weeks here. Hopefully to answer that question. And one real quick thing I wanted to cover, I know that email was brought up. We do have an email integration, just so you guys know, integrates with Outlook and Gmail. All your emails from those platforms is really easy to integrate to. Just sign into that particular account here. You'll see all the emails here. You can have multiple inboxes in Financial Sense. I can click on an actual email and reply from here. All this does is mirror your email. So if you're still communicating with clients via email, come in here and do it this way. And let's say a client emails me, but this is in regards to a project that another client is working on, but they don't have access to my email. Oh, it's not a client, another team member rather that's working on, but they don't have access to my email. I can pin the actual email to that project. So the next time that team member goes to work on that project, they'll say, oh, it looks like Will attach a new email for me here. And they'll see the email here and they can reply to it from here. So again, the goal is to tie the communication that you have with your client to the project that we're doing. Typically, we're working on specific projects for those clients. If you have like one-off tasks that you do for clients, they're not necessarily projects. You can create a project called one-off tasks and easily add those on a case-by-case basis. Again, if you want to go more in detail about how that process would work, schedule a demo, a great way to get insight on the different use cases and scenarios of doing different things. But lastly, what I will show you, if I go to a client here, and they do have an email section. So on the client's email, on the client's profile rather, I can see all emails from any contacts that I have listed here as well. And same thing goes in terms of being able to reply to it, pin to it, or even create a project from here if I need to. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the questions here. Want to make sure that I address everyone as needed. Let's see. So can you tell me what the rates again for ACH and credit card? And are there additional fees related to payments? Got you. So no additional fees, not like no surcharges or anything like that, that Financial Sense charges or anything. You're just paying for the fees itself on the credit card and ACH. Credit card fees are 2.9% capped at, oh, sorry, not capped at, but plus 30 cents. So 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. And then the ACH rather is 1% capped at $5 for the fees. With the syncing with OneDrive, does the client see all the files? Same rules apply. Clients see only the folders you want them to have access to inside of Financial Sense. So you can control all of that within FC. You can, and not only can you control it by a folder level, you can control it by a document level as well. Let's see. Let me look in here to see if anybody has got some insight. How do you export invoices created in Financial Sense to QuickBooks Desktop? So you can export in bulk. You can categorize your invoices by past due, paid, not paid, things like that. And then or hourly billing on versus non-hourly billing and things like that. So once you have it all organized, you can just hit the export button and export your invoices from within the invoice page. If you want to import those in the QuickBooks Desktop. But yeah, you would export to like a spreadsheet and then import it. So there's no way to like push it to QuickBooks Desktop. Using QuickBooks Online though, everything would auto sync based on your settings if you wanted to auto sync or not. So hopefully they answered your question there, Buck. All right. Cool. All right, guys. So we've got just a few more minutes here. Any other questions we can address? Anything like that? Anything that maybe I haven't covered, or you're just wondering, hey, does FC do this or do that? I might not be able to get into detail about it, but happy to address, questions in terms of like, can it do the thing? Do I need to schedule a demo to learn more about it? Stay here looking at the chat for a bit and make sure. We'll just quickly go over a few things over Financial Sense here as well. How do we schedule a personalized demo? So we'll have somebody add the demo link in the chat here, but also if you answer the poll and said you're interested in scheduling a demo, we'll reach out to you as well that way. But there should be a link coming in the chat here shortly, I would hope. And there it is. So we'll go back in here. While we have some time here, let's go over a couple quick little things that we can do in Financial Sense. We do have a work insights report. So when you have a team and you kind of want to see how we're doing, which team members need more help, which ones are doing great, that maybe we can have as people that are like teaching other team members and things like that. The insights report is going to help you understand what's going on. You can look at team performance, client performance. You can look at projects by tag. How many projects do we have that are waiting on client status versus info received? And we can look at this by specific time period, accounting period, by client group, by team member specifically, or by service item. So a lot of insights and things like that that we can get from our work insights report also. And I can filter it by tag. I just love this report. A lot of information that you can gather, like projects completed on time, how long is it taking to complete a project, how many projects do we have that are overdue. So really love that report. We also have capacity management. So I can set it like a time period of how long I think it should take to complete certain tasks. So I can have a budget on each task. And then here I can see all of my team members and how much work they actually have assigned to them based on how many tasks they have assigned to them. And so I can look at it by daily, weekly, monthly, and I can come in and choose a specific time period that I'm looking for if I need to as well. And I can set a budget for that team member to say, how many hours is this person working this week? Like, how many hours do I want to budget them as? I can set a budget for them, and I can see here if they're over budget, and then quickly reassign to a different team member as needed. Or I can have two team members on there, and what that'll do is just split the time in between both team members. And of course, we have an effective hourly rate report here that kind of shows you all your clients, amount billed, time tracked, effective hourly rate, labor cost. Um, uh, every firm I've talked to, I don't think I've talked to one firm yet that doesn't struggle with how to bill their clients. The pricing, rather, is really the kind of the issue here. I think that understanding your effective hourly rate is going to be a great help in understanding how do I need to be invoicing my clients, who needs a price increase, things like that. Great. So um, that's our demo for today. I'll go ahead and stay a little while longer to see if there's any additional questions so I can address those as needed. But guys, I thank you so much for hopping on here and taking the time with us today. I really appreciate it. I got some thumbs up in there. I don't even know we can do that. That's pretty cool. Awesome. Yeah. Mm, all right. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and end this session. Thank you again so much for hopping on, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.